that we've come in. Yeah. And we're coming in.
I'm Laura Daniel, and welcome to Laura Loves New York. I have some amazing guests with me today. They are this phenomenal husband-wife team who have been creating wonderful shows every Wednesday on IGTV. It's Constance Saytoun and Mark White of Constance Cooks. Woo!
Last year I met Constance to hear all about the pilot she and Mark had filmed, which was sweeping up awards all over the country.
It's a show within a show.
About a woman struggling to leave the world of academia behind to pursue her passion of hosting a cooking show, and comedy ensues.
We disagree
whose idea it was. The question was who came up with the idea to make it a show.
See, I think it was me.
Yeah, I think it was me. Anyway, we fictionalized it, so it became a show about making a show.
We wanted to make it meta, so it's about a person who wants to make the show and doesn't know how to do it, which is how I felt for many years.
When life hands you bitter melons, make a bitter melon cocktail.
Ooh.
This year, Constance and Mark have been doing mini episodes of Constance Cooks every Wednesday on IGTV, and it's called Wednesday Fair.
So we actually had a thought to do this before the COVID-19 lockdown. Whatever that Monday in March was, we put out our first Wednesday Fair that Wednesday.
Hey y'all, welcome to Constance Cooks, aka Wednesday Fair. We're doing postings every Wednesday, and brought to you by quarantine in New York City.
My niece had actually kind of panicked and contacted me. It was like, I have all this stuff in my pantry and now we can't go out and I don't know what to do with it. What do I do? And I was like, take photos and I will help you come up with things that you can make from your pantry. And then Mark and I filmed it.
Bigoli con salsa.
Each week, Constance shows her audience step by step how to make really delicious recipes like this turmeric salmon. She also interviews local chefs like Chef May, who is the creator of that turmeric salmon. She makes cookies, cocktails, and all with a dash of comedy.
We all gotta pitch in here.
And it's also teaching Mark and me, what my character would be going through as we come up against problems and issues. We're like, oh, this would be a good story time, you know.
We're living our show, basically. We're living the challenges of making a show. So we're generating all sorts of plot lines right now, which is for the fictional part, which is really great. Yeah.
It's the best. This is how they pay me.
Now, I know for your pilot for Constance Cooks, I know it was a big production. I know that you had a huge crew. I mean, to go from that to just the two of you and to put stuff out every week, I just find that mind-blowingly inspiring. So Mark, you were doing the filming and then you're also doing the editing after, yes?
Yeah, I'm doing the editing. We went to a one-person crew, basically.
And I'm gonna toast my one-man crew.
And I love that you guys were out there with your masks and you were talking to people who were also wearing masks but still working with the food. And it was thanks to you that I knew that Union Square's Farmers Market was open because you were out there filming. I'm like, oh, this is great.
One of my favorite episodes was with Andrew Cote, the urban beekeeper of New York City.
We had intended to go with him when he was going to go check his bees.
He does rooftop honey, where he gathers honey from colonies on neighborhood roofs across the city.
All the roofs in New York that he had his bees on, he couldn't access because those buildings were closed.
Hotels have closed and don't want me coming and going.
So he had orphan bees that had to go somewhere else.
Where they're very happily being fostered and self-quarantining out there.
Are they 6 feet apart?
They are 10 feet apart.
Yeah, so I mean, the shows definitely happen by what we actually have access to. You know, everybody's struggling on some level. We found other people who were still trying to serve the neighborhood and still serve the community, and we felt like it was important to find those people.
One of my favorite episodes was with F. Razzo and Sons, who brought their fish back to Chelsea at discounted prices.
We only talk to responsible people, let's put it that way. I mean, it was fun to shoot everything with a mask and 6 feet and stuff like that, which we're still doing, by the way, because here in New York City, it's still
very important.
Yes, but
even like an outdoor gathering, like with our artist friend Eliane, we made sure that we were 6 feet apart, and you know, it's important.
Well, and I love how you incorporated that in the fried chicken and the blueberry pie.
Yes, it was very
Yeah, and it was so cool because you had your friend who was making the pie, and I don't know if her husband was filming, but just it was so clever how you incorporated the two different apartments, filming these two different experiences, and then putting it all together.
Thank you. I know
Exactly.
that we're just doing this with our iPhones and
Yeah.
iPads and
Yeah.
letting that go.
Yeah.
That's what I find amazing is that you're doing it with your iPhones and your iPads because the quality looks great. Well, what have you guys learned in doing this? Like, how long does it take you to prep? Because you do it every week. When do you have a certain day that you film, that you try to film? Do you sketch it out? I'm just curious.
Wouldn't it be great if we were that consistent?
Yeah.
we would love to be able to say, you know, our prep day is on Thursday, we film on Friday, and then we get to edit, you know, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then we put it on Wednesday. But life almost never happens that way. And then also, and it depends on the subject, because sometimes we do need to go somewhere to film people, and it's not always inside the apartment.
And I would say there are certain trends that have developed, right? There's the show that we put out on Wednesday that we finished shooting on Monday. And I feel a certain way about those shows because we finished on Monday, everything gets compressed Monday to Wednesday, right? Then there's the version of the show we put out where we finished shooting on Sunday. So I got an extra day to do a little bit more. And every so often there's a show we get to put out where we finished shooting on Saturday.
That's
exciting. Like awesome.
That is exciting.
Like there's 3 times as many graphics because I just had more time to do stuff.
I love that. I love your animation that you include. I love the music you choose. I mean, everything is very thoughtful. And
Thank
you.
you.
And what we've learned is that we have some systems in place in terms of like, I just know what we have to do to prepare for a show and what's going to happen.
Right, we're sort of reinventing the wheel every week, which is a little bit crazy.
well, and it sounds like you're coming from your gut on some of it, which makes sense.
100%.
We're letting the material inspire us
Absolutely.
every time.
And I would like to point out too that I'm editing using the equipment. She's sitting next to me for a lot of the stuff. And her eye for editing is very good. Like we did the salmon episode where the chef, the professional chef May, she makes the dish, and then Connie went back to her apartment and made the dish. So she had the idea of doing it simultaneously.
Yeah.
May sauce.
Yeah.
Yay!
We haven't created content a year out or anything like that, but I have a bevy of ideas. Sometimes it's based on our timing or our schedule, but sometimes it's based on the person I would like to interview. I mean, getting to those people is not always just like this, although sometimes it has been like that.
Well, yeah, we've definitely, someo's like, sure, I can meet you tomorrow. And you're like, oh,
Okay, I'll get ready right now. I'll do that.
You guys are a great team, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on my show.
Thanks.
How did you guys meet?
Going back in the Wayback Machine.
The Wayback Machine. Yeah.
We actually met at a birthday party.
Yep.
Yeah,
This was before
I
online
know,
dating.
before like online dating. A mutual friend, dancer, who had taught with Mark in North Carolina and who had gone to school with me, had a birthday, and we were at the party.
Yeah, we were at the party.
You both have a theater background as well.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, Mark has an MFA in acting from ACT. So he actually has a document that says he's an actor. Yes.
But you don't leave out the best part.
I won't do that. And
Okay.
I also have a PhD in theater studies. So we've collaborated before in theater. We did 2 different productions together.
He acted, I directed, and we both produced.
Correct. One was a new play, one was a revival.
Now, what inspired you guys to move from the stage to the screen?
We knew that we had an idea for a TV show that we wanted to do. We had this idea for many, many years. But truly, I think part of the reason why we were like, we are going to focus in this area is because it was costing us way too much money to produce theater,
Yeah.
which is a very, very, very sad statement to make.
So interesting because nowadays, of course, it's so much cheaper to get into film because of the cell phones, because of the price of all the equipment has dropped to the point where theater is really the expensive one. And I think that's so incredible that those two have actually flipped. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark even actually, he has a festival that he created at the New Ohio that is for theater practitioners who have started making film. So it's specifically for theater artists who have dipped their toes into this medium, and he shows their work. It's really great.
Thank you for the plug.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, I think what you guys are doing is so fun. It's so inventive, And I love it. I could easily see it on TV. I was showing it to my husband, and he was saying, I would watch her every week.
I'm gonna do a blueberry pie down. Mashed taters done. And we kept the skins on, so it's more nutritious. If you can call cheese, potatoes, and buttermilk nutritious.
Yeah.
So when you order your food, are you getting it all from New York?
I mean, almost everything
Well-
I've done has been from New York, with the exception of one, which was the special Swiss sausage,
Right.
the cervelat.
A cervelat. It's a type of sausage made with beef, pork, and spices.
And I couldn't find that in New York, and I found it actually at a store in Connecticut that specializes in Swiss cuisine.
Well, so, okay, so now for someone like me who is a little, shy in the kitchen, how did you know that your food was going to turn out okay? I mean,
Oh, you don't.
okay.
You don't. Laura, I'm saying this to you as a friend and an artist. For me, cooking is the epitome of our art form, which is you don't know for sure. You got a recipe, you got the script, and you're just going to go
Oh, that's
for it.
true. Yeah.
99 times out of 100, it actually is really great.
You ready?
Ah.
On occasion, you will totally blow a recipe, but you will always learn what you blew, and then you'll do it again. And the joy of doing it in New York is that there's always, pizza or Chinese food somewhere, so you don't have to worry that you've screwed it up.
I gotta say, Connie, you're totally right, because I tried to cook meatballs one time, and I grabbed what I thought was Worcestershire sauce, but it was bitters, and I'm pouring it away. And I'm going,
Oh my
God. It was horribly sweet.
Yeah.
But to your point, I have learned I will never mix up bitters, which is sweet.
The Shire sauce.
Now, do you taste your food as you go, so you can gauge?
Always.
what you need?
My mother says you always taste it first to see if it tastes seasoned.
I know the salt I'm using, and so I know that when I season what I'm doing, and so I don't necessarily have to be quite as a slave to I'm going to taste it every step. But no, you have to taste it. You have to taste it.
It's really good.
One of the things I love about your show is that you've included some of the what people would call mistakes. And I think when you took a bite of something and something dripped or whatever, you're like, oh, and I'm like, I love that, because that's what we do as humans.
There's no perfect quaffing in
We,
the world of Constance Cooks.
We in the industry we call those bloopers. That's
You're still warm.
she's full of bloopers.
What would you like to happen with your show? What would be, for me, I would love to see it on the Food Network or the Cooking Channel. I feel like it's such an incredible fit.
Yeah. Do you know anybody? You
We
want
would
to
totally
talk to somebody? Yeah.
We would welcome a streaming network, especially if somebody is curious about marrying narrative to a reality TV show.
Mhm.
We would be super interested in having that discussion with a production company.
I think there are a lot of streaming platforms like Apple Plus. If they don't have a lot of cooking content on there, this is a way to get both narrative comedy and cooking involved. I feel like there are a lot of platforms that could be interested in something
Yeah.
like that. But,
I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see your next episode.
well, we're shooting it tomorrow.
Sure, sure. Laura, the other thing I was going to say that I think also where you and I are connected is that you and I are both transplants to New York, but we have fallen in love with the city. And this is how we see our home. So New York is very much a character in this show, and the artists that stay here and try to figure it out.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to interview you both, is because when all of this hit, when quarantine hit, I think a lot of us were just shell-shocked. Like, even with my show, I didn't know what to do. I felt so lost. To get to see you guys out there and creating was incredibly inspiring, and also comforting to go, oh yeah, our city's still here. Oh yeah, people are still doing what they can to share and to help each other out and to lift each other up. That's why I love your humor in it, is because we all need a little lift, you know?
You know, we when we interviewed Merveilleux de Fred on down in the West Village, when we were doing the interview, we were interviewing him outside of the bakery because we couldn't be inside the bakery, and we didn't get this on film, but some guy rode along on a bicycle and was like, thank you to the baker. It was like, thank you for being open, basically, because he was in the community. He was, they would serve coffee, they would serve breakfast foods. That the community was really grateful that they were still open, and that was really lovely to see this, because this was only about maybe 3 weeks into quarantine. So it was a really nice moment that you're talking about in terms of supporting community.
Oh yeah, well I think that's something I've really recognized with quarantine, with all of this, is how grateful I am for my neighborhood.
Seeing my favorite diner, The Flame, reopen with some of the other restaurants in New York has been very encouraging.
I know, Connie, that I have asked you before if you had any advice you could give your younger self, what would it be? Would you want to change anything there?
No, actually, it's the same sentiment that you're a late bloomer.
But late bloomers rock.
Late bloomers!
Late bloomers! You are smart and beautiful and an amazing artist. You will find your path.
You're a little one, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. What about you, Mark?
What about you, Mark?
Jeez.
That's the big question I ask everybody on my show, is if you had any advice you would give your younger self, what would it be?
Yeah, you didn't warn me. That's not
I know,
fair.
sorry.
That's not fair. I think it would have to be something about starting quicker, starting sooner. Like, I think I was interested in film a lot earlier, and it took me a long time before I actually finally, like this, picked up a camera and started making. I think that's a common theme in a lot of what I've done. It's just there is a value in doing, even if the doing doesn't turn out great or doesn't lead to anything. Because eventually you discover that the doing does lead to something. You just didn't know what it was going to lead to. So that would be my advice, is just do it.
I love that. I love that so much.
Right?
I know, Laura, you're really very, very good at
You're
this.
good. You're very good.
You're very good. You're a very good interviewer. Mark, before he even knew you, would listen to your shows, and he would comment about how amazing your voiceover work is.
Aw. Well, likewise, guys, I just like to shine the light on other people who are very, very talented and who are making magic happen in Manhattan.
So now you have to go and come on
I know,
our show.
Laura, I think we had a deal to make lasagna together.
We did.
So now we're going to do it via Zoom, but we're making lasagna.
Okay. I think maybe when it's not as hot as we get into the fall.
Yeah, that sounds like an excuse to me. Yeah.
Oven is an excuse. You just have to say yes now.
I say yes. I definitely want to do it. Our apartment gets so hot.
Wait till fall.
I love you guys so much. Thank you for being on my show.
Oh, I've just had a lot of fun. This has been great. Sure.
Thank you for making Constance Cooks a weekly Wednesday fair.
Wednesday fair.
It's so fun. So everybody go check it out. I'll see you guys later.
We adore you.
Oh,
Laura loves New York.
I have to learn the theme song. Someone's got to teach it to me.
God, Laura loves New York. The busy streets, the tasty treats, the awesome folks that you're bound to meet. The seats, the pleats, the funky beats make me want to pop a cork. 'Cause Laura loves New York.
All right.
Catch the very binge-worthy episodes of Wednesday Fair at Constance Cooks on Instagram. They also host live monthly cook-alongs with Constance, pay as you can on constancecooks.com. Thanks for joining us on Laura Loves New York. 'Cause